Welcome. It's an absolute pleasure to see you all here this morning. I'm delighted that shareholders and stakeholders are demonstrating the interest that they have in their company. So thank you for coming out. We exist to serve you, to ensure that you benefit from your shareholding in your company. So thank you all for coming out to this year's annual general meeting. For those of you who don't know me, I am Walter Scott, and for my sins, I am currently the chairman. Pray for me. The agenda has been circulated. The agenda is known. The first thing we will do, having just spoken about prayer, is to invite David Henriquez, who has a long association with prayer, to come and say a prayer for us as we start this morning's exercise.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. Can we take a moment to bow our heads in prayer? Lord, we come to you this morning thankful for all that you've provided for us, bringing us all here healthily, safely. We ask for your blessings on proceedings today, that we may do the best for our shareholders, our stakeholders, and the company. Lord, thank you so much for having us all here in one piece, and we continue to thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Enriquez. Oh, Dr. Banbury, good to see you. I'll pause while our deputy chairman comes up here to sit down. Good morning, Mr. Reid. Ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed any further, in order to ensure that we are regular, I invite our company secretary, Jordan, to come up and to tell us whether or not we have a quorum and to tell us about the rules of the meeting. Jordan?
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, members, directors, shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I will take you through the notice of the meeting, establish a quorum, being present, and the rules of the meeting this morning. I refer to the notice of the annual general meeting, which was dated April 30th, 2025, with the relevant details of the meeting and the ordinary resolution stated thereon. The meeting this morning is being held in a hybrid format, which includes both physical and online attendance of shareholders. Chairman, I can confirm that there is a quorum present in accordance with the articles of the company. We have received one proxy, which has been duly noted. The rules of the meeting. Questions will be dealt with during the Q&A session on the agenda, which will be in the latter part of this meeting. This includes questions which were emailed to marketing@dollafinancial.com prior to this meeting. Shareholders joining us online can also submit questions using the Q&A function located on the right-hand side of your screen. After writing your question, please select the Send button located to the right of the text box. Shareholders which are present in this room will be given an opportunity to ask questions during this session as well. Shareholders will note that we'll make every effort to answer as many questions as possible during the session. However, we will be time constrained, and as such, any unanswered questions during the session will be answered by the Dolla team, executive members and staff, either after the meeting, or you can email the same email address as marketing@dollafinancial.com, and all your questions will be answered. For the purposes of this meeting, the microphones will be muted for the online users to prevent any unnecessary disruption. And as such, you will state any questions or issues you have in the Q&A section or in the comment section underneath the screen. For the ordinary resolutions, when we reach that section, I'll note that only shareholders can propose and second the motions for the resolutions and also vote. We ask that shareholders in the room raise their hand to propose and second, and shareholders online can select the move or second button which will appear on your screen when the resolutions are presented. We encourage all voting to be done using the online platform. We therefore ask all shareholders to use the link provided in emails that were previously sent or the QR code which was circulated in the notice. Also, when shareholders enter this room, you are given a small card with the QR code as well that will take you directly to that page. Please note that you'll need your JCSD number or TRN number to be able to log on as a shareholder. Persons will be given 30 seconds to vote after each resolution is stated. How to vote? Persons online and persons using the platform, please select the Vote tab to the right of your screen, then select For or Against option, and thereafter confirm your vote. I will ask the chairman to determine whether a resolution has been carried after each ordinary resolution has been read. For shareholders online having any technical difficulties, please contact our designated help desk, which has been set up for the duration of this meeting. The number is 876-927-4881. If there are any shareholders having difficulties using the online platform in the room, for the voting process, I'll accept a show of hands to consider or cast your vote. Chair, that is the establishment of the quorum, the meeting rules, and the regulations that will be governed by in today's meetings and proceedings.
Thank you, Jordan. Welcome, just in time. I think there's a seat somewhere there for you. Thank you. So, having gotten the notice and the rules out of the way and having established that there is a quorum, I formally call the meeting to order. I would like to introduce to you in stages the directors present, starting with Mr. Ryan Reid, who is our vice chairman. On the floor, Dr. Michael Banbury, Mr. Kadeen Mayer, Ms. Alison Taff, Mr. Dane Pattison. Not seeing anyone else? No, not yet. For our senior executives present, we have Mr. Kenroy Carr, who is the group CEO, and beside him, Mr. David Henriquez, who is the CEO of Ultra Financier. We have already met Mr. Jordan Chin, but Jordan, raise your hand for me so they see you again, our company secretary who runs everything. He just gives us paper and tells us what to do, and we follow his lead. Again, I think we have apologies for absence for Director Lisa Lewis and Director Jesus Johnston. The notice of the meeting was circulated. I believe everyone has it. And the next thing for me to move to very quickly is confirmation of the minutes of our 2024 AGM. These minutes, Jordan, were circulated along with the report. Everyone has them. We have had no corrections or amendments, so I take the minutes as being confirmed. And now into the meat of the matter. With your permission, I wish to invite Mr. Kenroy Carr, who is the group CEO, to make the presentation on Dolla Financial Services Limited for 2024. I see somewhere floating around in the back of the audience, Mr. Garfield Reese from PricewaterhouseCoopers, the auditors, who in due course you will hear from. Welcome, Garfield. Thank you for being here. Mr. Carr?
Thank you very much, Chairman. So members of the board, our special invited guests, our valued shareholders, my colleagues, to everyone who is present with us today, those who also took the time to join us virtually, pleasant morning to you all. It is indeed a privilege to be addressing you today at our third annual general meeting since being listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. And on behalf of the team at Dolla, I would just want to take a moment to thank you for your thank you to our esteemed shareholders for your investment, your confidence in the company, and your unwavering support throughout 2024. And I also want to thank our valued customers who are really our partners in financial success. Your continued trust and commitment is really what empowers us to grow and to create lasting value. So today I'll walk you through some of our milestones, a little insight in the loan portfolio, and just our general performance during 2024, as well as our strategic focus for 2025 and beyond. After my presentation, David Henriquez, who is the CEO of Ultra, will join us and give some insight into the operation of that segment of the business. And following David's presentation, our CFO, Trevin McKenzie, who is joining virtually today, will guide us through the details of the financials as of December 31st, as well as just give some insight into how things have been going for the first quarter of 2025. First, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge our board of directors, most of whom are present today. Their support has been really instrumental, the strategic oversight, them always holding us accountable and just offering invaluable guidance is really, really instrumental in where we are today. And directors, I just want to thank you for your unwavering support, especially during 2024 and so far for 2025. Our management team, and by extension, the entire staff complement at Dolla and its subsidiary. I really just want to also take a moment to acknowledge their hard work, their resilience, and just the passion that really is the driving force towards Dolla's success. Every milestone that we've achieved so far is really a testament to your commitment and just the alignment to the vision and the goal of the company. Just having them up on screen so you can see those who are part of the management team. So here are some insights, here are some highlights of some of the milestones that we achieved during 2024. I recall at last year AGM, one of the commitments that we made was our local expansion and pursuing a new location as we really move to deepen our reach in terms of underserved communities. And I'm proud to report today that in Q3 of 2024, we opened our 11th branch in Moran Bay, St. Thomas. Of course, that's an area that has seen significant growth and development in recent time. For the second consecutive year, we won the second runner-up award for corporate disclosure and investor relations. And again, it's really a testament to our commitment to transparency and just excellence in engaging you, our stakeholders. I mean, on a quarterly basis, we continue to have our, whether it's a Mayberry Investor Forum or Learn, Grow, Investment calls, where shareholders are able to ask questions, and we never shy away from answering those questions, despite what the performance might be. We're always here to engage our shareholders. Our dedication towards social impact was evident as we contributed over $3 million towards CSR activities. And I believe one of the standout moments for 2024 was also the launch of our 100 Loan campaign, which played a pivotal role in the growth of the loan portfolio, especially in the latter part of 2024. Financially, the results speak for themselves. Our loan portfolio grew by an impressive 63%. The bulk of this growth came in the latter part of the year. Total income climbed to $1.5 billion, which was a record for the company, and our profit before tax grew by 7% relative to the prior year. Now, the profit before tax was not in line or in sync with what the income growth would have been, but of course, this was offset by some losses that we experienced with the wind down of Guyana, Dolla Guyana, that is, and just general increases in some of our interest and administrative expenses. We proudly returned the value to our shareholders. I believe in 2024, we paid $267 million in dividends to our shareholders, many of whom, of course, are our customers. And it's really a reinforcement, again, in our commitment to sharing with you the success of the company. And thanks to the confidence of our investors and the support of our financial partners, Mayberry Investments Limited, we were able to successfully raise $1.5 billion in funds that really contributed again to the significant expansion that we saw in the loan portfolio for 2024. Now, one of our the main aspect of our total asset is really the loan portfolio, which represents about 90% of the total asset. As a result of this, we really prioritize strategies that uphold the quality and the robustness of the portfolio. So I'm just going to share with you some highlights or a little insight into what the loan portfolio looked like. Our customer base during 2024 grew by approximately 2,000 customers, and taking our total base to somewhere about 10,500 clients. Our average loan size, when we subtract the ultra facilities, we're looking at an average loan size of about $1 million, with average duration somewhere between 15 and 18 months. And we are also proud to report that 92% actually of the value of loans that we disbursed during 2024 actually represented or supported entrepreneurs and businesses, while the remaining 8% were disbursed to personal and consumer loans. And of course, it really reflects just our goal of fueling growth through innovation across all productive sectors in Jamaica. In terms of the sector exposure, our loan portfolio is well diversified, as you can see in the pie chart on your left. You can see that the more prominent industries that we played in included the trucking, haulage, and transportation industry. Real estate and construction accounted for about a quarter of the loan portfolio. And we can see some traction in terms of the retail industry. And one of the things that I can confirm is that in the trucking, haulage, and transportation industry, which represents about a third of the loan portfolio, 100% of these loans are actually backed by collateral. In terms of secured loan, remarkably, 86% of the loan portfolio is secured. And again, when we refer to security, we're talking about loans backed by property, motor vehicles, and in a few instances, some reputable stocks that are traded on the Jamaica Stock Exchange platform. Unsecured loan, on the other hand, was represented about 14% of the loan portfolio. And one of the things with this strategy is, of course, you can see that playing out on the other slide, where the ECL was somewhere about a little bit below 3%, and that would again be a record for the company. And one of the main reasons for this is because of the secured loan strategy that we have been employing for quite some time at Dolla Financial Services. Our NPL as at December 2024 was at 9.9%. We'd have seen some amount of fluctuation from the prior year when it was about 8.2%. I just want to note that we are not particularly concerned about this movement on the basis, as I said before, that the majority of the loans on our portfolio are secured, and you will, from time to time, have fluctuations. You'll have movement of a significant account falling into a non-performing state, and depending on the value, depending on the time that it takes to sell, you might see those movements going forward. But we're not concerned, because once we're able to dispose of the asset, in the event where the customer is unable to really repay us, then we should see within 6 months, 9 months, especially for property-related loans, we should see those numbers coming back to acceptable levels. In terms of the loan portfolio by sector, we can see that Dolla Jamaica makes up the bulk of the portfolio at 61%. Ultra contributed 38% towards the loan portfolio, while Dolla Guyana was a tad under 1% for the period. And I should just pause here to note that as at May 2025, Guyana's loan book has been fully closed out, and we anticipate that the legal wind-up process will be completed by Q4 of this year. Now, our stock price closed the year at $3.02. Based on this, it was up about 13% relative to the same period last year. Kind of see some movement in 2024. I just want to note that our focus here really remains on consistently delivering strong results, which we believe will ultimately drive long-term value for our shareholders when it comes to the stock. In 2024, we continue to deepen our commitment to corporate social responsibilities. I won't go through all of these, but we, when it comes to the $1 Million Women campaign, that culminated in the awarding of $3 million to 3 female entrepreneurs, and that really showcased Dolla's belief in female-led businesses. As we, this was an initiative undertaken by Director Kadeen Mears, who was the CEO at the time, of course, to fuel the growth in female-led businesses. That it's a campaign that ran for 12 months, and at the end of the campaign, after these persons were giving a lot of coaching and support from various partners, including the Jamaica Stock Exchange, the three of the 20 persons who participated walked away with $1 million each in terms of a reward. As we look ahead, we recognize that sustaining our momentum requires focus, it requires innovation, and a lot of adaptability. At the heart of our strategy now and going forward is a commitment to improve our profitability, which I mentioned earlier when I spoke of the stock price. We're targeting at least a 40% increase in revenues for 2025, while we work tirelessly to enhance cash collection, as well as just optimizing the operational cost. To sustain our growth and the strategy for growth, we are actively working to automate certain aspects of our processes in an effort to enhance turnaround times, strengthen compliance and frameworks, and just to improve the overall customer experience and the service that we provide. We're also committed to prudent lending and risk management. Hence, we are continuously refining our credit scoring and underwriting models. And this is really based on our own internal data, just the performance of the portfolio and certain signs that we might be seeing. We continue to alter our model depending on that information, as well as whatever information is there in the macro environment. We continue to invest in our employee development and engagement, of course, just fostering that culture of continuous learning and finding different ways to revamp our incentive where we reward performance and do as best as we can to empower our team. And finally, we recognize the power of strategic partnerships, and we will continue to forge alliances that do not only expand our brand and the product offering, but also create meaningful value for our customers. That's something that we're pursuing and continue to pursue throughout 2025. In closing, I just want to note that Dolla's outlook is bright. We're staying true to our mission of empowering our clients and our communities. And together with your support, we'll continue to reach new heights. I want to thank you once more for the confidence, for your investment in the team, and the vision of Dolla Financial Services. At this time, I'll just pause and hand over to David Henriquez, our CEO for Ultra Financier.
Thanks, Kenry. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. So as you know, for those of you who know, for those of you who may not know, Ultra is the brainchild of our director and founder, Kadeen Mears. We began operations in November 2024 with just one employee, and we've grown significantly since. We began operations back in 2022, and we entered the space as a luxury lender, using luxury items as collateral to secure the liquidity needed for whatever purpose. As we progressed and grew through 2023 into 2024, we realized the space that we wanted to be in and that we were operating in actuality. During 2024, we went through a slight rebrand or reshift, as you may deem it, as we shifted into the space of private credit. During our time in operation, we've noticed that based on the collateral being held and offered, blue chip stock traded on Jamaica Stock Exchange, real estate, both urban and rural, property, both residential and commercial, motor vehicles, both personal and commercial, for the purposes of not just bridging financial gaps, but for insertion of capital into businesses, seizing real estate opportunities, and many other business opportunities. We have been grateful for the support from the public, and we are proud to be able to help our clients in their endeavors. So currently, we have 63 active clients making up our loan book that is now sitting at just above 1.5 billion. The metric which we are most closely judged on is our NPL, our non-performing loans, which now sits at 9%. Last year, we were able to present a 0% non-performing loan, but as Kenroy has mentioned, this will always fluctuate for a business like Ultra. It is far below industry range, but it's something that we monitor very closely. Our loan book is 90% secured, over 90% secured, and therefore once a loan does slip into a non-performing state, we explore all possible avenues with our clients to cure that state of non-performing. But if it is not possible, it does trigger our team to liquidate the asset. Over 75% of our collateral held is real estate, and we know that it can take anywhere from 90 to 180 days to liquidate property, sometimes even longer. And therefore, Ultra will always have a fluctuating NPL, but it is nothing to be alarmed about, as we are secured and we will always be able to recoup our funds. Our ECL remained under 5%, as expected due to our highly secured loan book, and therefore not needed to take too many provisions under the ECL. Into some financial highlights. Our interest income stood at 547 million, operating expenses at 196 million due to our increased staff complement and our facility with Dolla. Profit before tax stood at 239 million for the year 2024, which is attributable to our loan book increase of 77% year over year. So it was a busy year in marketing for us. We were happy to be a part of a number of prominent platforms. Our quarterly check-ins with Learn, Grow, Invest platform, the Mayberry Forum, and some quick pop-ins on Smile Jamaica, Taking Stock with Kalila Reynolds, and Sunrise with CVM, as we embarked on our rebrand to private credit and our continuous efforts to be as transparent as possible with our shareholders. We were happy to be able to sponsor a number of events: Frenchman Climax, Caymanos Corporate Golf Tournament, Jackson Bay Fishing and Gun Club Skeet Event, Mayberry Swim Classics, and a number of other sporting events tied to charity. So we can't be working hard and earning and not giving back to what matters. In 2024, we were happy to partner with Dolla to give back to a number of children's homes for the Christmas season, donated 10 mammograms to help 10 women start their fight against breast cancer, and a few other outreach activities throughout the year. So I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to our small but strong and growing Ultra team who have made all these things possible. Maria Brown, our VP of Sales, who joined Ultra in 2023 but has been with the group since its inception. Daniel Goldsmith, who started in early 2023 as our loan admin but has now grown into the role of credit risk adjudicator. Tamia Williams, who joined in 2024 as well, and has revamped our marketing and our brand presence and continues to find exciting ways to engage the public. We have Maximilian and Nola, who joined us also in 2024 to create our collections department. Though they may not be the voice that our clients want to hear, they have been a great and important addition to our team. Leanne Stone joined us in 2024. Leanne was a shining star at Dolla, and we realized that she'd be a great addition to the Ultra team, and so we had to steal her. So we are truly, truly grateful for her. So as we look into 2025, our future is very, very important to us, and we do see it as a very, very bright future. The Ultra loan book, our aim is to get the Ultra loan book to 2.4 billion while maintaining our NPL below 10% and our ECL below 5%. Our aim is to strengthen the quality and the diversity of our loan book as we continue to grow. Our clients are the most important thing to us. And in this dynamic market space, we are constantly focused on improving our loan processes to better suit the needs of our clients and partners, while ensuring secure growth for the company and earnings for all our shareholders. So I'll take this opportunity now to introduce our CFO, Traveen McKenzie, who will run us through the numbers.
Thank you, David, and a pleasant morning to everyone in attendance. I acknowledge all protocols being duly observed. Dolla's 2024 financial year was marked by continued positive momentum, highlighted by significant growth in our loan portfolio and strong performance in interest income, both of which contributed to our year-over-year profit growth. Interest income for the 2024 financial year totaled $1.5 billion, reflecting a 29% increase year over year. Net interest income, which represents interest income net of interest expense, amounted to $1.2 billion, marking a 23% year-over-year increase. And this strong income performance helped to offset our expenses and resulted in a profit before tax of $478 million, representing 7% growth compared to prior year. Now, looking at the company over the past 5 years, we are proud of the continuous growth in the right areas. Income in particular has experienced a compound annual growth rate of 66.5% since 2019, which demonstrates that the business has taken advantage of the demand in the market while leveraging its access to capital. In 2024, the group would have disbursed approximately $2.4 billion in loans, which is approximately 30% more than prior year. We were able to achieve this growth due to the $1.6 billion fundraise in Q4 of 2024, which, as you can see, went directly into the growing loan portfolio, which also experienced a remarkable compound annual growth rate of 75% over the last 5 years. Now, growth doesn't happen on its own. It requires strategic investment in the right areas to ensure the engine of the business runs smoothly. The group's expenses, inclusive of ECL, amounted to $760 million, which increased by 42% year over year and experienced a 32% compound annual growth rate over the last 5 years. Much less of a growth than our income, which is a good indicator of the company's efficiency. Our efficiency ratio of 50% in 2024 also indicates that even though expenses have increased, they are properly cushioned by income. But nevertheless, we have dissected our expenses to provide some insight into the main drivers, the first of which would be staff costs, which represented 54% of our total expenses. Our overall staff complement was flat year over year. However, we did experience a 20% increase year over year in staff costs as we continued our benchmarking exercise to ensure our human capital is adequately compensated for their daily efforts, bringing Dolla to industry standards and creating a great place to work. We also revised and improved our benefit structure and implemented training programs to upskill members of our team in hopes of retaining our internal talent. Legal and professional fees also represented 10% of the overall expenses and also saw year-over-year increases as we built out Ultra, closed out Guyana, made administrative payments regarding dividend payments, and sought advice regarding regulatory and operational matters. ECL, which stood at 61 million, saw a significant increase due to Guyana and the wind down exercise, which we have been discussing over the past few quarters. So our shareholders have been made abreast of those increases as we go along. Now, outside of these three major elements, the transactional volume of the business grew significantly during 2024, as it has in prior years, which also drove increases in smaller expenses to manage capacity. Now, during the year 2024, the company would have made 3 dividend declarations for a total of $267.5 million, which represents a 62% increase in dividend payments year over year. During the first quarter of 2025, an additional dividend declaration of $30 million was also declared. However, in early Q2, the board reviewed the Q1 2025 results in consideration of a potential dividend payment. However, no dividend was declared. The board concluded that reinvesting the available funds into the business would be the most strategic use for the capital at that time. Now, moving on to the balance sheet, growth was experienced in all areas. Equity grew by 15% due to the growth in comprehensive income for the period. Assets grew by 53%, primarily driven by the growth in the loan portfolio, and liabilities increased 73% due to the bond raise of $1.6 billion. Now, finally, let's take a look at our Q1 2025 results. While we achieved strong performance in several areas, profit before tax declined year over year. Now, as discussed on our most recent earnings call, this was primarily due to the recognition of a small fraction of loans that, based on our Q1 assessment, were deemed impaired. Now, this write-off would have increased expenses and contributed to the year-over-year decline in profit before tax. But that said, it's important to view this in context. In Q3 of 2024, we also experienced a dip in profitability. However, we implemented a strategic plan focused on recovery, and the results speak for themselves. So in Q3 of 2024, after that dip, profit before tax was $65 million. In Q4 of 2024, post-audit, our profit before tax would have been $13 million. And in Q1 of 2025, our profit before tax increased to $121 million. So the big picture is clear. We are committed to return to growth, and we delivered despite the impact of write-offs. Of course, there's a lot more work to be done in the coming quarters to drive efficiency and continue steadfast into prudent lending, which also includes reducing our efficiency ratio and bringing NPL back sub 10%. Now, as we conclude the presentation of the 2024 financial results, I would like to invite Makilia Mindley, Assurance Manager at PwC, to take us through the audit report.
Good afternoon, everyone. Independent Auditors Report to the members of Dolla Financial Services Limited. Report on the audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements. In our opinion, the consolidated financial statements and the standalone financial statements give a true and fair view of the consolidated financial position of Dolla Financial Services Limited, the company, and its subsidiaries, together the group, and the standalone financial position of the company as at 31st of December 2024, and of their consolidated and standalone financial performance and their consolidated and standalone cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with IFRS accounting standards and with the requirements of the Jamaican Companies Act. what we have audited. The group's consolidated and standalone financial statements comprise the consolidated statement of financial position as at 31 December 2024, the consolidated statement of comprehensive income for the year then ended. Over here? Okay. The consolidated statement of changes in equity for the year then ended, the consolidated statement of cash flows for the year then ended, the company's statement of financial position as at 31 December 2024, the company's statement of comprehensive income for the year then ended, the company's statement of changes in equity for the year then ended, the company's statement of cash flows for the year then ended, and the notes to the financial statements comprising material accounting policy information and other explanatory information. Basis for our opinion: we conducted our audit in accordance with international standards on auditing, ISAs. Our responsibilities under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statement section of our report. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. Independence: we are independent of the group in accordance with International Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants, including International Independent Standards issued by the International Ethics Standards Board for Accountants, IESBA code. We have fulfilled our responsibilities. We have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with the IESB code. Our audit approach, audit scope. As part of designing our audit, we determine materiality and assess the risk of material misstatement in the consolidated and standalone financial statements. In particular, we considered where management made subjective judgments, for example, in respect of significant accounting estimates that involve making assumptions and considering future events that are inherently uncertain. As in all our audits, we also address the risk of management override of internal controls, including, among other matters, consideration of whether there was evidence of bias that represented a risk of material misstatement due to fraud. How we tailored our group audit scope. We tailored the scope of our audit in order to perform sufficient work to enable us to provide an opinion on the consolidated financial statements taken as a whole, taking into account the structure of the group, the accounting processes and controls, and the industry in which the group operates. We determined the scope of our audit by first considering the internal organization of the group and then identifying the components of the audit that have the most significant impact on the consolidated financial statements. The group comprised the company and two further reporting components, all of which represent the principal business units within the group and are located in Jamaica and Guyana. Full scope audits were performed for the company and one other component, while an audit of one or more financial statements, line items was performed for the remaining component. The audit work performed covered 100% of the group's total assets and 100% of total revenue. Two of the reporting components were audited by PwC Jamaica, while the other component located in Guyana was audited by a non-PwC firm familiar with local laws and regulations to perform this audit work. Key audit matters. Key audit matters are those matters that, in our professional judgment, were of most significance in our audits of the consolidated and standalone financial statements of the current period. These matters were addressed in the context of our audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements taken as a whole and informing our opinion thereon, and we do not provide a separate opinion on these matters. Key audit matter: IFRS 9 financial instruments, probabilities of default, forward-looking information, and significant increase in credit risk, group and company. Refer to notes 3F, part 4 and 5, 4B, 7, and 26A to the financial statements for disclosures of related accounting policies, judgments, estimates, and balances. As at 31 December 2024, loans net of provision for credit losses total 4 billion and 3.5 billion on the group's consolidated and the company's standalone statement of financial position respectively. These balances represent 87% of total assets for the group and 83% of total assets for the company. The impairment provisions recorded under the IFRS 9 expected credit loss ECL model amounted to 124 million for the group and 78.5 million for the company. The IFRS 9 ECL impairment model takes into account reasonable and supportable forward-looking information as well as probabilities of default, PDs. PDs represent the likelihood of a borrower defaulting on his obligation over the next 12 months or over the remaining lifetime of the obligation. PDs are developed by management based on the group and the company's specific historical default rates for each industry classification. In performing historical analyses, management identify economic variables impacting credit risk and ECLs for each portfolio. Various scenarios were identified and weightings assigned using macroeconomic factors as well as management's experience and judgment. Management also performs scenario analysis to determine the impact of future economic conditions on PDs in the countries and industries where the group and company have loan exposures. A macroeconomic indicator is determined, which is statistically linked to the credit risk loan exposure. We focus on this area because of the complexity of the techniques used to determine PDs and the number of significant judgments made by management regarding possible future economic scenarios. We further focus on management's assessment of significant increase in credit risk, SICR, as stage migrations can materially impact the ECL. Management's determination of PDs, forward-looking information, and SICR was made with assistance of an external expert. How our audit addressed the key audit matter. Our approach to addressing the matter involved the following procedures amongst others. Updated our understanding of management's ECL model, including any changes to source data and assumptions, and tested the mathematical integrity of the model, evaluated the competence, independence, and objectivity of management's expert, evaluated the design and tested the operating effectiveness of certain relevant controls over the forward-looking information and SICR in the ECL, determination by performing inquiries at management and inspecting management's evaluation, review, and approval of key assumptions, judgments, and forward-looking information, evaluated with the assistance of our internal specialists the appropriateness of management's judgments pertaining to forward-looking information, including macroeconomic factors and the basis of multiple economic scenarios used. We further sensitized the various inputs and assumptions as part of our reasonableness test, evaluated the reasonableness of management's judgment pertaining to PD, SICR, and forward-looking information, including macroeconomic factors by reviewing assessments provided by global credit rating agencies and applying sensitivities to the forward-looking information multiplier. Tested the completeness and accuracy of the historical data used on a sample basis by agreeing the details of the customer payment profile to source documents. Tested the staging of a sample of loans by reference to the number of days outstanding on the loan. Tested the critical data fields where applicable used in the ECL model for the PD determination, such as default rate, effective interest rate, write-off data, and loan type by tracing data back to source documents. Evaluated the reasonableness of the weightings used for the base case, upside, and downside scenarios by agreeing the forward-looking economic information to external sources published or pronounced by reputable third parties. Sensitize the probability weightings used in the ECL calculation. Other information. Management is responsible for the other information. The other information comprises the annual report but does not include the consolidated and standalone financial statements, and our auditor's report thereon, which is expected to be made available to us after the date of this auditor's report. Our opinion on the consolidated and standalone financial statements does not cover the other information, and we will not express any form of assurance conclusion thereon. In connection with our audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements, our responsibility is to read the other information identified above when it becomes available, and in doing so, consider whether the other information is materially inconsistent with the consolidated and standalone financial statements of our knowledge obtained in the audit, or otherwise appears to be materially misstated. When we read the annual report, if we conclude that there is a material misstatement therein, we are required to communicate the matter to those charged with governance. Responsibilities of management and those charged with governance for the consolidated and standalone financial statements. Management is responsible for the preparation of the consolidated and standalone financial statements that give a true and fair view in accordance with IFRS accounting standards and with the requirements of the Jamaican Companies Act, and for such internal controls as management determines is necessary to enable the preparation of consolidated and standalone financial statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. In preparing the consolidated and standalone financial statements, management is responsible for assessing the group and company's ability to continue as a going concern, disclosing as applicable matters related to going concern, and using the going concern basis of accounting unless management either intends to liquidate the group or the company, or to cease operations, or has no realistic alternative but to do so. Those charged with governance are responsible for overseeing the group and the company's financial reporting process. Auditors' responsibilities for the audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements. Our objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the consolidated and standalone financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, and to issue an auditor's report that includes our opinion. Reasonable assurance is a high level of assurance, but is not a guarantee that an audit conducted in accordance with ISOs will always detect a material misstatement when it exists. Misstatements can arise from fraud or error and are considered material if individually or in the aggregate they could reasonably be expected to influence the economic decisions of users taken on the basis of these consolidated and standalone financial statements. As part of an audit in accordance with ISOs, we exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit. We also identify and assess the risk of material misstatement of the consolidated and standalone financial statements, whether due to fraud or error, design and perform audit procedures responsive to those risks, and obtain audit evidence that is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. The risk of not detecting a material misstatement resulting from fraud is higher than one resulting from error, as fraud may involve collusion, forgery, intentional omissions, misrepresentations, or the override of internal control. Obtain an understanding of internal control relevant to the audit in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the group and the company's internal control. Evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies used and the reasonableness of accounting estimates and related disclosures made by management. Conclude on the appropriateness of management's use of the going concern basis of accounting, and based on the audit evidence obtained, whether a material uncertainty exists related to events or conditions that may cause significant doubt on the company, on the group, or the company's ability to continue as a going concern. If we conclude that a material uncertainty exists, we are required to draw attention in our auditor's report to the related disclosures in the consolidated and standalone financial statements, or if such disclosures are inadequate, to modify our opinion. Our conclusions are based on the audit evidence obtained up to the date of our auditor's report. However, future events or conditions may cause the group or company to cease operation, to cease to continue as a going concern. evaluate the overall presentation, structure, and content of the consolidated and standalone financial statements, including the disclosures, and whether the consolidated and standalone financial statements represent the underlying transactions and events in a manner that achieves fair presentation. Plan and perform the group audit to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence regarding the financial information of the entities or business units within the group as a basis for forming an opinion on the consolidated financial statements. We are responsible for the direction, supervision, and review of the audit work performed for purposes of the group audit. We remain solely responsible for our audit opinion. We communicate with those charged with governance regarding, among other matters, the planned scope and timing of the audit and significant audit findings, including any significant deficiencies in internal control and that we identified during our audit. We also provide those charged with governance with a statement that we have complied with relevant ethical requirements regarding independence, and to communicate with them all relationships and other matters that may reasonably be thought to bear on our independence, and where applicable, actions taken to eliminate threats or safeguards applied. For the matters communicated with those charged with governance, we determined those matters that were of most significance in the audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements of the current period and are therefore the key audit matters. We describe these matters in our auditor's report unless law or regulation precludes public disclosure about the matter, or when in extremely rare circumstances we determine that a matter should not be communicated in our report because the adverse consequences of doing so would reasonably be expected to outweigh the public interest benefits of such communication. Report on legal and regulatory requirements. As required by the Jamaican Companies Act, we have obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purposes of our audit. In our opinion, proper accounting records have been kept so far as appears from our examination of those records, and the accompanying consolidated and standalone financial statements are in agreement therewith and give the information required by the Jamaican Companies Act in a manner so required. The engagement partner on the audit resulting in this independent auditor's report is Garfield Rees, PricewaterhouseCoopers Chartered Accountants, 1st of April 2025, Kingston, Jamaica.
Thank you very much, Ms. Minley. For those of you who are present who have some small influence elsewhere, can you please prevail upon the relevant authorities to amend the Companies Act so we don't have to go through this torture each year? So, moving right along, friends, because we're all friends here, whether shareholders, stakeholders, employees, or otherwise. Our Company Secretary, Jordan Chin, will now take us through the resolutions which we have. I believe we have 8 or 9, Jordan, and you'll take us through one by one, please. Thank you.
I was going to say good morning again, everyone, but it's gone into the afternoon. So good afternoon again, everyone. I'd like to just remind all the shareholders of the rules which were previously stated. Only shareholders can propose and second the motions for resolutions and vote. Shareholders are to vote using the online platform. Members will be given 30 seconds to vote using the online platform. We encourage all voting to be done on the online platform. However, I will accept a show of hands by shareholders in the room if you're having any difficulties. If you are proposing or seconding a motion, please clearly stand and state your name for the record. All right, I will now take us through the ordinary resolutions. Resolution number 1. I'm just giving a slight delay just to ensure that the online shareholders are seeing the resolution as I read them. Are we good, IT? Tech support? We're good? Okay. Ordinary resolution number 1. To receive the reports of the directors and the audited accounts for the 12 months ended December 31st, 2024. The resolution reads as follows: that the report of the Board of Directors and the audited accounts for the financial year ending December 31st, 2024 be and are hereby adopted. I will now ask someone, a shareholder, to propose the motion. Mr. Lancel Bloomfield. Could I have a member to second the resolution? Mr. Frank Otto. All right, shareholders, voting will now commence. To ratify interim dividend payments and declare them final. The resolution reads as follows: that the interim dividends of 1, J 0.04 cents per share paid on April 5th, 2024 to shareholders on record as at March 22nd, 2024, and and 0.059 cents per share paid on August 30th, 2024 to shareholders on record as at August 16, 2024, and 0.008 cents per share paid on December 24th, 2024 to shareholders on record as at December 10th, 2024, be and is hereby ratified and declared as final, and that no further dividend be paid in respect of the year under review. Could I have a shareholder propose the motion? Mark Anthony Barton. And could I have a shareholder second? Mr. Douglas Wilson. All right, shareholders, voting will commence. Chair, I'll ask you to declare the resolution carried.
I declare the resolution as carried.
Resolution number 3. To retire and re-elect directors. That directors retiring by rotation pursuant to Article 102 and Article 103 of the Articles of Incorporation are Mr. Ryan Reed and Dr. Michael Banbury. To consider and, if thought fit, pass each of the following resolutions. Ryan Reed, being eligible, offers himself for re-election. Resolution 3.1 reads as follows. That Mr. Ryan Reed be and is hereby re-elected a director of the company. Could I have a shareholder propose? Just repeat your name again, sir. Mark Anthony Barton and Lansdale Bloomfield to second. Shareholders' voting is now in progress and will commence. Chairman, I ask that you declare the resolution as carried.
I declare the resolution as carried.
That Dr. Michael Banbury, being eligible, offers himself for re-election. This is Resolution 3.2. The resolution reads as follows. That Dr. Michael Banbury be and is hereby re-elected a director of the company. Could I have a shareholder to move the motion?
My name is Delroy Bryan.
Mr. Delroy Bryan. And could I have a seconder? Thank you. Mr. Kadeen Mears. Shareholders' voting is now in progress. Chairman, I ask that you declare the resolution as carried.
I declare the resolution as carried.
All right, shareholders, we're on to resolution number 4. To elect directors in accordance with Article 108 of the company's Articles of Incorporation, Mr. Walter Scott, having been appointed to the board of directors since the last annual general meeting, will retire from office. To consider and if thought fit, pass the following resolution. The resolution reads as follows. That Mr. Walter Scott be and is hereby elected a director of the company. Could I have someone, a shareholder, to move? You propose? Thank you, Mr. Kadeen Mears. And could I have someone to second? Mr. Lansdale Bloomfield. Mr. Walter Scott is the chairman. Shareholders' voting is now in progress. Thank you. Seeing that Mr. Walter Scott is the subject of this resolution, me being company secretary, I will declare this resolution as being carried. Mr. Scott, were you sweating? All right, shareholders, we're moving on to resolution number 5, to elect directors. In accordance with Article 108 of the company's Articles of Incorporation, Mr. Jesus Johnston, having been appointed to the board of directors since the last annual general meeting, will retire from office and, being eligible, offers himself for election. To consider and, if thought fit, pass the following resolution. The resolution reads as follows: that Mr. Jesus Johnston be and is hereby elected a director of the company. Could I have a shareholder propose the... yes, Mr. Gary Peart? Yes. Could I have a shareholder to second? Please state your name, sir. Mr. Fennell? Martel Fennell? Thank you. Voting will now commence. Chairman, I ask that you declare the resolution as being carried.
I declare the resolution as being carried.
All right, shareholders, we're moving along quite well. Resolution number 6, to authorize the board to appoint auditors. The resolution reads as follows: that the board of directors be and are hereby authorized to appoint the auditors of the company. Could I have a shareholder to propose the motion, please? Mr. Lansdale Bloomfield, and a seconder? Mr. Douglas Wilson. Shareholders, voting has now commenced. Shareholders, we're going to ask for this resolution that a show of hands for members in the room be raised for and against. I'm going to ask for everybody in support of this resolution to raise your hand. All members. I'm going to ask anyone that's opposed or against this resolution to raise your hand now, please. Based on a show of hands, Chair, I'll ask that you declare the resolution as carried.
I declare this resolution as being carried. May I just indicate that there's a slight tech problem, and rather than prolong the meeting while we try and remedy that, we are simply doing what we did 40 years ago, which is to go to the members present and to take the vote one way or another. Old school still works.
Resolution number 7, to authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of auditors. That the resolution reads as follows. That the board of directors be and are hereby authorized to fix the remuneration of the auditors of the company. Could I have a shareholder to propose in the room, please? That's Mr. Lancel Bloomfield. Yes, and seconded by Mr. Mark Anthony, yes. Mark Anthony Burton. Members, I'll ask you to raise your hand if you are for this resolution. Thank you. And I will ask any against to raise your hands now. Chairman.
The resolution is carried. Thank you.
Shareholders, we're on our last resolution, resolution number 8. That is to authorize to fix the remuneration of directors. The resolution reads as follows. That the board of directors be and are hereby authorized to fix the remuneration of the directors of the company. Could I have a shareholder propose the motion, please? Yes, sir. Please stand and state your name. Oh, sorry, ma'am, yes. Natasha Bohagent. Bohagen? Okay. Could I have a member second? That is Mr. Mark Anthony Burton, yes? Barton. Thank you, sir. Members, shareholders in the room, can you please raise your hand if you are for this resolution? Thank you. And if there's any members against the resolution, please raise your hand now. Thank you.
Shareholders, thank you very much. The resolution is carried.
Yeah, I'll just indicate. Shareholders, on the agenda, we had an action item or an item in the eventuality that there was a poll. I'll advise that there was no need for any polls to be declared today in regards to the ordinary resolutions. As such, we'll be moving into the question and answer section of the meeting, which is a very interesting section. We received questions online, and I've just refreshed the system. Some questions have already been answered, as questions were asked prior to the presentation being presented by the executive members of staff, and as such, I've noted those questions are being answered. We will also review the questions to see if there's anything that has been missed. But for the most part, I will take a few questions now that have been raised from our online viewers. The first question is from Mr. Leon Francique. Can we get some more timely reporting on changes in ownership among the top 10 shareholders? Shareholders, I will address this question. We do a top 10 reporting every quarter. It's also stated in our annual report. The top 10 shareholders are stated thereon. If there's any changes or any trading in connection with related entities or related parties, we will make that and have made those disclosures to the Jamaica Stock Exchange within a timely manner to advise members of those trading activities. But outside of that, the top 10 shareholder register is stated in our quarterly reporting and also in our annual report. As the shares are traded online on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, as a publicly traded company, it is at these intervals that we capture any recorded changes and advise the shareholders. So those are the intervals that we abide by. The second question is from Mr. Wenford Henry. Are there plans to enter other Caribbean islands? Is there any acquisition being pursued? Chair, I'll ask you to address the relevant executive to address. I think it's at the bottom.
Mic check. Okay. Thanks for that question. So in terms of regional expansion, that's not something that's on our agenda for the immediate, that we see in the immediate future for Dolla. At this point in time, the company is really leveraging the opportunities that exist in the local market and focusing on building out our brand and increasing our customer acquisition in Jamaica.
Thank you, Kenroy. Our next question is from Mr. Devon Hendricks. What are we doing for growth over the next 3 years? Chairman, I'd like you to address the relevant executive.
So I'll take that question as well. I guess we're having some technical issues. So in terms of the immediate and in the short term, our goal is really to expand our lending capacity. Just really building relationship with our existing clients and continue to expand our customer base. In the medium term, we're hoping to do a lot more when it comes to automation. As we grow, we are looking to scale, to reduce overhead, and just to try as best as possible to return maximum value to our shareholders. We will continue to explore strategic partnerships that kind of guide us in terms of tapping into the market that we know, or the sectors that we know will return value for the business and its shareholder. And it's really about a continued disciplined approach when it comes to lending, looking at our lending models and ensuring that they are aligned to the risk that we're seeing internally and just the general macroeconomic environment.
Thank you, Kenroy. Those are the questions that we have from our online viewers at this time. I'm going to ask now shareholders in the room to ask any relevant questions. I'm going to ask that the questions relate to the proceedings today and the 2024 annual report. Questions outside of that, we can always ask the executive team or members at another time. But based on time constraints, I'm just asking for us to limit our questions to matters discussed and also the 2024 annual report, which is the subject of this meeting. I'm going to ask members to limit the amount of questions each member asks to give other members an opportunity to ask questions. Is there a microphone that's floating around for any members that have a question? I'm going to ask the members in the room to step forward to the microphone at the front of the meeting room and ask the relevant question. Thank you. I'll ask the members of the executive team to address, or the chairman.
We heard, Mr. Fong, we heard you loud and clear, and there is no connection, Mr. Fong.
But originally, though, at the start, remittance of Cambio, that's something.
Do you want to answer that?
Yes, that was the case.
All right. That was the case. Medical explanation, whatever. elaborate?
Mic check. All right, apologies for the technical glitch. Just confirming that Dolla was associated with Stocks and Securities Limited up until 2019 or 2020, I believe, when First Rock Real Estate acquired the company and became majority shareholders.
Thank you. I'm not going to force any. Okay, there's another question.
Okay, so Robert March, shareholder. So Dolla went to Guyana, and Guyana found oil, and each citizen got 100,000. Therefore, Dolla, because of that, Dolla don't have any more business there. That's why I pulled out.
I'll ask the executives to answer the question.
So we would have addressed that question at our last AGM, I believe. And of course, the management team, guided by the board of directors, we would have assessed our business continuity in Ghana and decided that if we channel those funds to Jamaica, it would result in better return for the company and more value for our shareholders.
Hello, Warren Hines, shareholder. Mr. Carr, in your CEO summary, you mentioned operating expenses increased by 130 million, mainly due to an irrecoverable bad debt. Can you elaborate on why this debt is irrecoverable? And also, what about the proposed dividend that should have been declared? We haven't heard anything.
Okay, thank you for that question. Let me just address the dividend aspect. I believe our CFO, Trevine McKenzie, did mention in her presentation that in early Q2, the board would have met and decided not to pursue a dividend payment at this time, with the funds being channeled back into the business to, again, really about growth and returning value. In terms of the increase in the operational expenses, I can confirm that there was, I'm not clear on the figure that you gave, but a big part of the growth in the operational expense quarter over quarter, and you're addressing Q1 results, I must say, that would have been based on a debt that we thought we just needed to be prudent and make as much provision, being prudent, writing it off for proper accounting purposes, but at the same time, we're committed to pursuing that debt and any other that we have on the road to ensure that we fully recover. Because once we pursue and we recover, then it automatically goes back to our bottom line.
And just to clarify, hopefully you can hear me, that write-off did not take place in 2024. That was a 2025 write-off, not to the tune of $130 million. It was significantly less than that.
But the report said irrecoverable. So I was wondering if this was part of your unsecured loans.
That's correct. So again, it's Q1, and we continuously review all our loan accounts, whether they're secured, looking at the type of collateral that we have on the book. And it's just that from this review and our consultation with our ECL experts, we thought that it would be prudent to write off this account or make additional provisions for a few accounts to ensure that we are accounting properly for that expense.
Okay, thank you, shareholders. I'm going to ask the chairman to come back and move for termination of the meeting.
Ladies and gentlemen, firstly, may I thank you for expressing such deep interest in the affairs of your company by turning out for this annual general meeting. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for participating. Thank you for demonstrating your faith in the management and board of the company by the passage of the resolutions. May I at this time move for the termination of the meeting. Aldane, you've been quiet all day. Thank you. We have a mover, a seconder for the termination of the meeting. A seconder. Meeting is terminated. There are some refreshments. The management team and members of the board will stay around and are available for anybody who wants to corner them to ask a question. We are here. Thank you all very much. See you next year. Stay healthy, stay safe.
What's happening is we have Dolla out here giving away beer niceness, here, only for excitement.
So at the heart of the one already loan product is that we look at some taxi drivers out there, taxi operators, you're working for somebody, you're paying somebody $25,000 a week to drive for them. So we say, come to Dolla, we'll make your loan payment $25,000 a week and you own your car in 2 years.
About winning the taxi?
I feel very good, I'm not telling you a lie. I feel very good. But my family will take care of as well. You understand? So, it means a lot to me.
Me no know about you, but me know say, yeah, Dolla lend money, yeah. Dolla, better than the EM. One and ready, yeah. Oh, yeah. That better than the EM. My taxi, yeah. Oh. It better than the EM. No give no problem. Dolla better than the EM.